Hi, this is Naomi with Sword and Steel, and today I'm going to show you this commission I did for an owl familiar for Dungeons & Dragons. Alright, so here are my little pieces. I've got a dime because I checked out this small size miniature and the dime is about the same and I don't have any of these small size bases around. So dime shall be, plus some modeling putty that I had mixed just before I turned on the camera. So I can make a nice little base with these things. And then the star, an owl, and these pieces. All of these came from Sylvaneth bits that I had stored. So yay, being a Sylvaneth player. These are going to make our little D&D owl. So just going to make a base out of this and fold it up in whichever which way in speed. And just carving it to be the right size. And now I just stick my pieces in because they go in very nicely and orient them the way that I want them to be so that it looks good from all angles. The gluing of the owl. And now I'm going to leave it there to let it dry completely. Once I let it dry, I went ahead and sprayed Wraithbone spray over all of it. And let that dry. Now that it's dry, we can go ahead and start painting it. Doesn't it look good? I think it looks pretty good. Pretty pleased with how it's looking so far. So the first thing I'm going to do is the stone, which is an even mix of contrast paints, Gryph-Charger Grey and Apothecary White. And just using a small layer brush to get it on there pretty casually. Not too concerned about where it goes. Because the wildwood that I'm going to put on the tree is going to be much more opaque than this stone. Now, while the stone is drying, I'm going to go ahead and start on the owl, and the owl is going to be that of a great horned owl, so speckled, and I need to start with a cream colored, and I'm using this mix that I made back in the Chimera video. I've been holding on to it because it's a beautiful banana yellow, and an even mix of that plus Apothecary White to make a cream color that I'm going to apply all over the owl, just using my small layer brush. Just one even coat. I'm going to take my smaller brush, which is my handy dandy Klinsky Masterclass, and use just the yellow, to get his eyes very precisely, dotting it into there. After that, it is time to use some wildwood on that branch. And just as before, I'm not going to be too careful about it. I don't want any of it to pool, but yeah, I'm just slapping it on there, really. But just making certain there's no really big splotches to pool. Now that that's done, I think I will go ahead and do some shading with Cygor brown on the underside of all of these branches. Here we are. Alright, now the owl. So a great horned owl is speckled with a dark beak. I'm going to do the beak first, so that's out of the way. Just going to use this Cygor brown on my palette to do that. And on the tip of his feathered ears-ish. So the Darkoath Flesh I'm just going to be putting in very small spots all over the owl. Around his cheeks, not too much, and all over his feathers in just little up and down spots. It's not going to look great immediately, but it'll come around. There. It is. Speckled owl. I'm going to do the same sort of thing, this time with a even mix of that Darkoath Flesh and the Cygor brown. And not necessarily on top of the Darkoath ones. It doesn't particularly matter, I think. Super speed. Super speed. I very much enjoy super speed. Alright, next layer done. There it is. It's nearly what I want it to look like. Getting close. Now it's time for the eyes, though. Let's go for the eyes! And now, with this, I added Cygor brown. So there I have the Cygor brown, and then I decided to add more Cygor brown. So I can make his eyes a bit bigger. And then I added the yellow, and I did find I needed to use retarder medium to slow down the drying time of those paints, because they're acrylics and they like to dry super fast, and I had very little on my brush. So retarder medium is your friend for trying to do small details with acrylics. And now, lastly, I'm going back with a mix of cream and Darkoath Flesh to kind of even out his feathering as much as I can, like that. Next, I'm going to apply Sterland Battlemire to his base, and this is going to be the ground. It's also going to be the initial way that I'm going to put on tufts of grass and other little bits and pieces to make up a kind of realistic looking back bottom to the base. Don't want to add too much more height to it. Yeah, super speed. And now it's time for some Army Painter tufts and Citadel static grass. First the tufts, get them placed where I want them. These ones are Highland tufts, and yes, I'm also going to be using lowland shrubs. Very carefully with a pair of tweezers. You can put it exactly the way you want. Now I did, after I did all this, and I got them exactly where I wanted, I did go back with some more Sterland Battlemire and fix them in a little bit better than how I initially did them. I do like the look. And I used a bit of static grass to, just a little bit. I mean, I put some on and then I mostly took it off again, but I got the effect that I wanted. found it a little bit too green and red, so I took most of it off again. But it got the effect I wanted. And now I'm tearing my lowland shrub in two so I can apply it in a couple different places, but only a little bit. The piece itself was too big, but half pieces looked good, I thought, on both sides. And now, after I applied everything and let everything dry completely, I'm adding a wash, which is part glue, just PVA glue, and part water over the entire base, and a bit underneath the owl too, because this isn't going to be used by me, this is going to be used by someone else, and I want to make certain that everything stays in place for hopefully ever, for their entire time that they're using it. So I'm just, yeah, getting the owl. I think the owl is very solid there. Matte varnish is now going over the owl and the tree to reduce that shiny look. And here we are. There he is. He sits about 1¼ inch tall. I'm pretty satisfied with how he turned out for such a small thing. And hopefully they will be too. So that was super enjoyable, satisfying. To this little guy. I hope you liked it. Hope there was something in there for you. And I'm excited to show this off to the person who had me do it. Well, if you liked the video, give us a like, and if you'd like to see more, subscribe to our channel and hit that bell notification so you find out as soon as we put out our next video, which is all about wargaming and tabletop gaming and painting such things like this. Thanks, bye!